What's up, everybody? What the fuck is up? My name is Dat Halfbreed. I'm a One Piece grinder, and today I want to introduce you guys all to a new challenge that I completed, and I'm trying to introduce to the One Piece community here, where we did an Iron Man challenge, which means that over the course of 12 hours, we didn't do it all in one day. I had to break it up into 3 days. But over the course of 12 hours, we made a deck list for every single leader in the game. And we got at least one game, one match win with every single leader in the game, period. OP01 through OP05. So even the ones that are only on the sim, we've played them all. We got a deck list for all of them. So today we're going to go over all of the deck lists, sort of like the highlights, what I liked about playing it, what I didn't like. And if you ever saw a leader where you were like, oh man, I want a deck list for that leader, but I've never seen anyone play it. Well, it's definitely going to be in this video because not a single leader was left out. So we're going to start right here on the red decks. You know, a lot of these red decks you will have seen before. We'll get into the interesting decks later, but this is just straight up a rip of a tournament winning deck. This is the first place event. For the first OP04 event, I think it was a Knoxville Regional. First place Zoro. You know, you think red used to be known for its rush cards, especially Zoro used to be all about the rush cards, but Zoro has kind of moved past that now. And you'll notice there's 0 rush cards in this deck whatsoever. Zoro's the leader, but there's no rush Zoro, no rush Luffy, none of that. We're just playing much more of a controlling deck. The Zoro deck now is much more of like a removal deck. You got Fire Fists, Jet Pistols, Marcos, Vistas, and then you use your cards like Otama, Gordon, and Blamenko to make your removal even better. And then surrounding that, you just have all the generically good red cards, you know, Curly, Buggy, Izo, Makino. Get yourself some advantage. So this deck definitely, you would think that Zoro decks are very, you know, straightforward and easy to play, but this deck takes a lot more thinking than a lot of other red decks. You have to make sure you have the cards to get your opponent's characters to the right power to kill them. And you want to, you know, you have to play it a little slower and more card advantage-y than you might think. It's not just rush them down and kill them. It's kill all their stuff and slowly peck them to death. Alright, next we got, of course, the other very popular, very well-known deck. Everyone has seen this deck. It's Law. What did I put it under? Oh, that's right. It's under Cross AI. Okay, bam. Alright. So second deck we have here is Law, which is, of course, everybody knows Law. Everybody has seen Law. To me, personally, it's the most powerful deck in the game. The leader ability and effect is just inherently too powerful. Meaning that basically your entire deck only costs 1 or 2. You know, you might think, oh, you have 5 costs in your deck. Nope, they cost 2 with my leader ability. And we can do all sorts of shenanigans with on-play effects. This is just a copy of the deck list that Cross AI used to get 4th place. Cross AI, of course, another great One Piece YouTuber. If you don't know about him, definitely give him a follow. He does a lot of great stuff for the community. And it's just simple. You have cards that draw cards like Nami, Curly, and of course the most broken card in the deck, Bonnie. And you're just shifting all your cards around all over the place, putting them down, picking them back up, putting them down, attacking, restanding. You know, this deck is just really powerful, and the biggest thing I can say is the more games you play with it, the better you get. And there's some god hands that just feel unbeatable, where you just have, you're going second, Curly into, you know, Nami, Chopper into untap, activate Bonnie, Law, you know, like, this deck has some god draws that seem unbeatable, but it's very strong. You can fuck it up. Make sure you get your reps in when you play it. But it's very good. I feel like they might have to ban this leader eventually, otherwise it's going to be good forever. They either have to ban the leader or introduce rotation, because he is not going anywhere. So first kind of spicy list here, we have red-green Luffy, and I played a red-green film Luffy variant since there's a bunch of red film cards that we can get with Nami, of course. If you know green-purple Doflamingo, if you've ever played Film Kid, then you know how powerful Film Nami is. It can generate you a card every single turn if you can defend it. It's really strong. And there's some neat stuff you can do with the Luffy leader ability, where you attack with your Nami, draw a card, then you restand it, set it as active, and attack again, draw another card. Plus, Luffy gets a lot better. You have some really cool extra stuff to put in off of the Luffy. You have the pair of Zoros. And that makes Brook better as well, because Brook can play out either of these Zoros. The only unfortunate thing is we don't... Yeah, and the biggest thing is we have red Nami as a searcher. Unfortunately, it can't grab this Nami, but it helps us find everything else going on in the deck, like 7-drop. And then we just have some counter spells. This is definitely one of those decks where it basically is like a kid leader ability, where you can just load up one of your Zoros or your Frankies with a bunch of Dawn, or, you know, this Zoro with a bunch of Dawn, and then get 2 huge attacks to end the game. And your opponent is never allowed to be at 1, otherwise they can just get punked out. Alright. Next we got another deck that everybody's seen before. Good old Whitebeard, as I call him, the old man. This is one of the other leaders that's just like, this leader is so inherently powerful that, like, Beppo is just a red film 2K. On attack, I think it also minuses something or KOs something. But most of the time, it's just a film 2K. Yeah, so red Newgate is just like, it's one of those leaders that the leader ability is so inherently powerful, of both having 6,000 power and having 6 life, where, like, because the card that you're losing goes to your hand, it almost doesn't even really count as losing life, because you can still, like, counter out of that attack next time, if that makes sense. You have now, like, sure, you lost the life, but you've gained the ability to counter out of an attack, which is a life in a lot of the situations, right? So it's just like, having the extra life and the 6,000 power is so crazy powerful that it feels like no matter what red cards they ban, this leader is just always going to be good. You just need red cards with any amount of power, and this card is good, right? Like, of course, the Vanilla's one of the best deck to make use of Vanilla's, just raw stat sticks on everything. Ace is incredibly busted card. And thank God they restricted Newgate, otherwise this leader would be completely unreasonable. Just having multiple turns in a row of not losing a life, that's where the games just, like, get out of control. But you can find all types of Whitebeard lists at the top tables. I'm sure they'll do good. Okay, now we got something interesting as well. We got Senor Garp, the GOAT of the Marines, man. The strongest Marine to have ever lived. There ever was. And he did it all with these 2 hands, man. This deck is pretty straightforward, honestly. It's just a lot of good black cards. Brand new, which is very powerful. And the main thing is we are leaning really heavily on 4 cards that become excellent in the Garp leader deck. And those 4 cards are the 3-cost Smoker that can't be KO'd by effects, that attacks as a 6K, which it can do very often. The double attacking Smoker, where you know, this is the deck where you're going to make your opponent's characters cost 0 the most. So, this is going to have double attack quite often. And then I am just like, the more and more I play black, the more and more I'm becoming a fan of this card. This Kobe card from the starter deck 8 is like really good. 4 cost, 1000 power. It has counter, and you can rest a character to KO a 2 cost or less. Just, that's it. No discard, no nothing, right? And when you're so used to having to discard a card to kill something in the black decks, having this Kobe that's just like, okay, I attach 4 Dawn to my leader, attack you for 9. You know, you have to take it. Play my Kobe, destroy your 6 drop, and then just play a Borsellino blocker afterwards or whatever. Like, when the turns where you can play a Kobe and have it behind a blocker, it just starts to spiral out of control, where just every turn, anything that they play that costs 7 or less, you can kill it, because the Garp ability hits something that costs 7 or less, right? Just, so you're just like, they play a thing, you rest Kobe, kill it. Play a thing, rest Kobe, kill it. And it just like lets you go up on cards so fast. And this, of course, is also just really good in the Garp deck. Lets you have some really aggressive starts, where if you go second and play the 2-drop 2k Garp, they can't play a character. They just can't play a character, because if they play a character, it just dies on attack to the Garp. Because you just, you know, they have to play a 5 cost, that's it, you know. Because otherwise you just attach all your Dawn to the Garp, make whatever their character costs 0, attack, pop it. Really cool. So, the 4 life is the biggest problem with this deck. If this deck had 5 life, I would, like, seriously consider it a lot more heavily. But because it doesn't, it's really rough. Like, if this was just a mono black 5 life deck, it would be awesome. But, as 4 life, it's kind of rough, because it doesn't feel like there's any red cards you want to play outside of the events. But yeah, fun deck. Next up, we got the edible himself, the donut. I know, I shouldn't be so mean to Ace, because this deck is good, man. This deck is just straight up good. I think it's like a serious meta contender because of the fact of how good Fire Fist is against red and how good Flame Emperor is against yellow and Rebecca, man. I was a Rebecca grinder for a little while. I still am. I'm still thinking about it at least. But man, is it hard for Rebecca to beat Flame Emperor. It just like kills everything in your deck. You play a Luffy and you try and attack with it. And it's just like, what are you gonna... Yeah, as Rebecca, what do you attack with your Luffy? Do you attack a Marco? That doesn't work. Do you attack an Ace? That's tough. Ace is pretty big. And then, if you try and play it and pass, and not attack anything, then it just gets shot down by Flame Emperor, and you get double struck, and it's like, ah. And it's impossible to play, Luffy and Sabo in the same turn, so you can't dodge Flame Emperor, man. Card's really good against Rebecca and pretty good against yellow. If they play a 6-8 and you get to shoot it and then attack double strike, whoo! This thing shoots 6... Yeah, this card, Flame Emperor, it shoots 6-8 Perospero, it shoots 8-drop Katakuri, it shoots 7-drop Big Mom. It just, like, it kills so much stuff, man. It kills so much stuff. Kills Luffy, you know. And because of the fact that you have access to Crossfire and, you know, Otama, it just kills even more stuff. Crossfire plus Flame Emperor literally kills every character in the game. I've said that before in, like, some of my other videos, but it's still, like... It's just still so cool, you know? It's make your own Red Rock. Plus more, because you get 3,000 power and double attack. So, like, this combo is just very strong. Okay. Now we got... Nefeltari Vivi. Uh, yeah. This deck is definitely tough just because, with every leader that can't attack, the game plan sort of is always the same. Every can't attack leader is forced to fight for board presence above all else. If you can't control the board, you can't win the game. You know, because you can't do anything. If you don't have a board presence, you can literally do nothing. There's no free attacks. Your Dawn is useless. So it's so important to fight over the board more than anything. But we do have a lot of good ways we can do it. And honestly, I've seen some new tech where somebody was playing starter deck Nami. So I would probably try and find a way to squeeze some starter deck Namis into my deck. Maybe over the Soga Kings or something. But we just have a lot of ways to kill their stuff. Because we have Chaka, which shrinks something by 3,000. And then can destroy a 0 cost. So it kills everything 3k or less. Then we have Pell, which kills 4k or less. And Pell and Chaka combo together really well, of course. We have Nami Searcher and Brook to do a little control of powers, right? Brook plus Chaka plus Pell is the main lifeblood of the deck. And then there's just Mihawks here for some extra removal. Red Rock here. Happiness Punch is actually really strong in this deck, where it's... First of all, it's double searchable, which is really nice. Searchable off of Nami and Igaram. And Igaram is another, like, Bonnie type card, where if you have board control and you can activate this more than once, you start really getting ahead of your opponent. And, like, that's the thing with Vivi. You're going to have a lot of cards in hand with the Vivi deck. You get so many cards. And Happiness Punch is basically, like, the best guard point ever. Because it's like mini Hell's Judgment, where it's -2 and -1. So it can stop 2 attacks for 1 Dawn sometimes, or just straight up be a guard point whenever you just want it to be a guard point. It's cool. And then my like little tech to help fight against yellow is 8-drop Banish Luffy, which is a really nice card to give rush off of Vivi. It's nice and big at 8/9, has Banish, which is really strong. Double searchable as well off of Igaram and Nami. So I'm a fan of that card. Okay, so now we're getting to OP05. At least some OP05 decks, but a deck that I was actually kind of surprised by, which is Sabo. Sabo of the Revolutionary Army. So Sabo is a new OP05 deck that's, you know, going to come out in 3 months. But Sabo is a really interesting, like, turbo aggro deck, where it's sort of like a glass cannon aggro race deck, where because of the fact that a bunch of your characters just can't die, like, all of your characters have a free shield, you know? Having this, like, protection shield on all of your characters is so huge. So it just turns every game into a race. But if you can just have more rush characters than them, so we're playing all the rush characters here, Zoro, Luffy, and Sanji. And especially this Karasu. This Karasu is real, of course. Everybody's been talking about how broken this card has the potential to be. Right, obviously it definitely comes to be that the when attacking thing is a lot harder to activate than it seems. Because you have to, first of all, have 2 extra Dawn to attach to it or some way to pump it. And, you know, second of all, you have to have it actually live a turn, which is not easy to do. But still, being able to be a aggro deck where we play 2 searchers, we can play Bello Betty and Nami. We're just trying to be on the play and curve out every game 1 into 3 into 5 ideally, you know. And, you know, we just nullify their first attack. All of their first attacks are worthless because we just use our Sabo leader to give it -1,000 power and stop it from dying. So it's very easy to just burst them down, and there's a Spicy Chaka here. Just as another aggressive card that works with the Sabo leader ability and helps us get more value out of our Dawn and more damage out of our Dawn. And we just need on curve 3-drop play. So you play Hack because it's on curve. It works with the Sabo leader effect, and it's searchable off of Bello Betty. So this deck can win really fast. If you just go Searcher into Zoro, into Luffy, into Karasu, it's just like, they're dead. Alright, here's the next Ultra Glass Cannon aggro deck. Welcome to Bello Betty. This is triggers out of life the deck, kind of. You have so many, 4, 8, 12, 16, 18. You have 18 characters that can trigger out of your life, so your opponent's like super scared to attack your life because it just gets you free characters. But they have to race you somewhat, because if they can't kill all of your creatures, yeah. Bello Betty is really the type of deck where like they can just kill you in one turn. It's just like you cannot go to 3. Because you are not safe at 3. Like, you are just not safe at 3. You might just die at 3 all in one shot. Because all it takes is play Karasu, activate leader ability, and then we got a bunch of 8 or 9k swings on your now 4k leader. So this is really one of the decks where you have to be able to kind of race it a little bit or removal it to death. Because if not, they put out so much damage. It is a fragile deck where, you can burst them down really hard, but if they do survive, then, you're kind of out of gas because you don't have any cards in hand, and all your cards are in play or got discarded to leader, and they can just, attack your characters down. But if you play your cards right, you can do a lot of damage. It's the best cracker deck by far. Karasu's great, and Inazuma as a rush character feels really good. Searchable rush character too. Alright, now we have a wonky deck. Other people have played this deck too, which is funny. So welcome to Promo Red Uta that they gave away from that film promo deck. This thing that gives plus 2,000 power to a character without effect. So we're just... What's the tribe that has the most characters without an effect? Well, in this case, it's Whitebeard. Because in the Whitebeard Pirates, there's a 3/5... There's a 4/6, there's a 5/7, there's a 6/8, and there's a 7/9. And we just play all of them. We just play all of them. And we're just trying to attack with giant numbers, man. Because you get a free 11th Dawn to attack with, basically. But this deck is definitely leaning very heavily on 9-gate, Izo, Marco, you just have good Whitebeard Pirates cards where it's like the leader almost doesn't matter. But I've had people in the Discord say they tried this deck out for themselves just for fun and it was easy to make, so I certainly hope that they did and it went well. Alright, and then this is a OP05 deck list, so I'm sorry about that, but this deck is just too fun, man. This deck is too fun. This is my type of red deck. I feel like this is how red deck should be, rather than the, like, removal Zoro deck, or the, or the tricksy, crazy draw card law deck. or the, you know, weird Whitebeard deck, 6k leader, or draw infinite off my life. This is a genuine red deck. Like, from the days of me playing Magic, this is just two things. It's characters that cost 1 or 2Ks, and rush cards. And that's it. We're just sticking very straightforward. We got all the 1-drops, Makino, Magra, Sunny-kun, and just every rush card we can possibly play, man. This deck is so fun. 4 Zoro, 4 starter deck 1 Luffy, 4 starter deck 10 Sanji, and 4 10-drop Luffy. You can really hammer with this deck. Just rush character, rush character, rush character, rush character, rush character. And I don't know. That's my type of red deck, especially when you get to play 10-drop Luffy for multiple turns in a row. Just like 10-11 rush, 10-11 rush, 10-11 rush. Sorry, 10-12 rush, because we got the Luffy leader ability as well if you want. Like, when ST10 comes out, like, give this deck a try, man. It is really fun. You know, ST10 is only like a month or 2 away. I highly recommend this deck. It seems really fun. And Luffy just helps get you extra value because you want to tap out for these rush characters. It's better than Zoro, which costs an extra Dawn. Alright. So now we get to the red-purple crowd. So there's red-purple law, where I do feel like this deck needs access to OPO5 cards to really be good. You can try playing it in ST10, but it's a lot rougher. The OPO5 cards you get are just so strong. You get OPO5 Searcher Law with the new manga art that searches for Heart Pirates, which is most of your deck. You get the new OPO5 Blocker Kid, which means that your leader ability, which is normally, you know, Dawn -3, put a 3,000 power character from your opponent on the bottom of their deck, and then you can play a 4-cost from your hand. It basically means it's Dawn -2 instead of Dawn -3, which is really huge when you have access to the Kid Blocker. Then we have when you're at sea, of course, which helps you find the cards that you really need, like the Blocker Kids and the Law. The 2 new mangas are just so good. You have Zoro Juro, which helps you ramp. You can play it out early, and because you're a 4-life leader, all you have to do is take 1 to have this Zoro Juro be active and be gaining you active Dawn every single turn. It's one of those cards that really pushes purple over the edge here. From OPO4 to OPO5. But yeah, this deck is really tricksy. You have to be a little careful about not going all in with your Dawn minus, because if you Dawn -3 every turn, you are just going to run out of Dawn and not be able to kill your opponent. But there's a lot of value you can get out of Blocker Purple Law, to make them discard 2 cards. Of course, Beppo and Shachi Penguin are your main ways to catch up on Dawn after being behind outside of Zoro Juro. And then you just have minus effects like Gordon, Otama, Ace, the Promo Law, and Round Table, just to make sure you can kill something dead. And then here we have one of my other favorite decks that we played, which is red-purple Luffy in OPO5. Now, it is possible that Newgate is not going to be unrestricted like it is currently in the Eastern meta, and you won't be able to play multiple Newgates and multiple Rad Beams. But with the way it is now, it's just like you might as well. And this deck is also just so fun to me because of how straightforward it is, and how some draws can truly feel unbeatable when you're just like, Okay, well, I'm going to go second. I'm going to cast Basil Hawkins on 4. Then I'm going to cast Gene Bart. And then I'm going to cast, you know, Newgate, Kid, Luffy. You know, you just ramp for 2 turns, and then you just go totally ham playing nothing but just, like, the most humongous chonkers ever for the rest of the game. And I just never get tired of being like, you know, Kid, Luffy, Newgate, you know, just playing the hugest haymakers on people every turn and having a giant leader. And 7-drop Kid and this red purple Luffy leader combo very well, because you can always just get a Don back. Now, if I can't play Newgate, if I can only play 1 Newgate, I'd probably, you know, just play like a Nika or some Rush Luffys or something like that. Just some other card that's kind of big but impacts the board right away. Either has Rush or is big. Who knows? Maybe you can get away with playing 9-drop Kaido or something like that. We'll have to see. Okay, and then last for the red leaders, we have a deck that I wasn't really sure what to do with it. Kind of just like a aggressive deck where maybe we should be playing more rampers. Where the red-purple Kid leader, it feels like it doesn't do anything until later in the game. Because you have to Don -1 to give it plus 2,000 power. Which is definitely good, but you can't really afford to go down on Don too much early. So it feels like you have to either ramp up or try and get some kind of pressure going early, so that when it hits late game, you can just attack for 7 with your leader all the time. But it just didn't feel as cohesive as a plan as the like red purple Law and the red purple Luffy have. So I wasn't that much of a fan of this deck. It's fine. You know, you're playing Namis and when you're on the sea, which is nice. And you have just, it's basically just good red cards and good purple cards. It's hard to come up with what a cohesive plan for this deck would be. But yeah, that's all the red decks that we played. And then we're going to come back with the green decks next. And then there's blue and purple and yellow and black. So I hope you guys enjoyed, and we'll, you know, try out some of these decks sometime soon. A lot of them are really fun, and, you know, I hope challenges like these will inspire people to try and either beat my time of speedrunning every deck, or just, you know, just try some new decks in general. Alright, so thanks a lot, guys. Definitely do all the things with the buttons on the tubers. Follow the Twitch stream, subscribe to the YouTube, all that stuff. And thanks so much. More to come soon.